So today's video is going to be about vintage. If you can tell by my username, I like vintage clothing. But of course, if you look through the channel, there are literally no videos about vintage clothing or vintage in general. That is because I started this channel like a month or two ago, and I'm just starting to get into things, and I'm not that enveloped in vintage yet. Once I get more suited to it, then I'll have more videos about it. So I'm not an expert by any means, but I have found an interest in vintage clothing specifically. I love like 1900 backwards with the hoop skirts and the corsets and the layers upon layers of skirts and beautiful bows and all the beautiful ball gowns. I think my favorite ball gown would have to be 1860s, as the hoop skirt were like huge. And of course they were hard to walk in and hard to sit and hard to put on and all this other stuff, but it was just really beautiful, and people took time in their appearance. You know, it took, you know, an hour to put the clothes on, but you looked beautiful in it. And nowadays people wear sweatshirts and sweatpants and just, you know, random crap they find around the house, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but I just think that their fashion was more dedicated, more beautiful. Nowadays fashion is kind of boring. And so I've always been interested in the Victorian type of clothing. When I watch movies, I've gotten to the point where I'm not exact, but I can guess time periods, like if it's from the 1500s, 1700s, 1800s, and usually I'm pretty close by a few years. I usually guess like 1800 instead of like a specific date, but I've gotten to the point where I can kind of pinpoint when the dress or time period was. Lately, I've been really into 50s fashion for some reason. I used to only really like the Victorian stuff, which I made a dress in 10th grade, a Victorian type dress. I wish the skirt was bigger, but I did make a Victorian dress for a project in high school. I've always liked Victorian fashion, but lately, at least for the last few months, I've been getting into other types of fashion, like 50s and 80s, and like anything 80s backward I think is pretty cool. I mean, 70s were kind of boring unless you were like a hippie, but I kind of like 80s just because of the big hair and the leg warmers, and I just love Lost Boys.
I'm Michael.
Michael's great. I like Michael.
But I like 50s backward just because, you know, it was interesting. And of course, like, I tell people I would love to time travel, or that I was born in the wrong generation because I like this type of clothes. And they're like, well, why would you want to go back then? There was disease if you were in the 20s, or war in the 40s, or the Great Depression in the 30s, or just like the 50s weren't that great for LGBTQ, or like whatever. And I'm like, yeah, every generation has their problems. And this generation has corona and all this other bull. So anytime I would go to, there would be problems. And I don't want to like live during that time because I love internet and I like making videos, and, you know, I like being by myself, you know. I think I would like, if I could, if it was possible, I would like time travel back to the 50s, 20s, 1800s with cowboys. Like any time, I would time travel like for a week or a day, just to experience it, buy clothes, and like anything I grabbed could come back with me. I think that would be really cool. Of course, that's not possible. That is why I wear this stuff now. Of course, I don't wear this every day. You can tell by my videos I don't wear it every day, and I don't go out in public like this often for the fact of people reacting badly. You know, I don't want people to think I'm weird. Of course, I do like this fashion. I do get weird looks because I dress like my grandmother did when she was my age. But I just really love vintage clothing. I have a vintage dress that I bought a month ago. An actual 50s dress. It's not like a remake. It's actually from the time. I've worn it a few times when cosplaying and on TikTok and just for pictures. I have a 60s coat, which is really dope. And then I have this dress, which is from the 50s-ish, I think. It is older. I'm not exactly sure what time period. It doesn't really say. But I really like this dress as well. And I have a wedding gown from, I think, the 50s. It's kind of torn up because my cat decided to scratch it up. You devil. Why would you do that? Why? but that one's pretty cool. And then I have a few like costumes that look similar to older dresses, and I have a few recreations that are like that look older but they aren't. I would like to get more like vintage clothing. That's my goal, or at least recreations of vintage clothing, because I really like the clothes and I would love to wear it every day. Weird thing is I hate dresses a lot. Like, I will not wear them unless it's a fancy occasion. But then when it comes to vintage clothing, I'm like, let's wear a dress every day. You know, let's just do it. And I just love, for some reason, lately, 50s dresses. Like, they're just so beautiful. And, like, I would wear one every day if I had the chance. I'd be like, let's do it. Put my hair up in victory rolls, get me my red lipstick on, get my dress on or my long skirt, and I would be happy. Of course, I'd get the weird looks, but I don't think I'd really care. I just like the vintage fashion in general. I think it's beautiful. Victorian would be awesome to own, but dresses like that take way too long to make, or they're just like really expensive if you want to buy one. So I'm trying to get more like, I'm trying to fluctuate my liking so I can, you know, like certain things but wear other things. I made a skirt during quarantine because we're stuck. I made a swing type of skirt, like a 50s style, which I'm really proud of. Of course, the skirt is not like the best, but it's the first thing I've made by myself, so I'm pretty proud of it, even if it looks a little wonky, and that's really awesome. And I'm hoping to one day get more of a vintage clothing wardrobe. Of course, I don't think I'm gonna have I'm not gonna have only vintage clothes, because there are times when wearing vintage clothes is not a good idea. Maybe I'm going to a party, or I need to go to school or something, and I don't want to get looked at. So I'm not gonna switch out all of my clothes for vintage, but I think that if I had the choice and I could, I would switch out maybe half, maybe a little bit more to vintage, because I don't know, I like it more. It's the only time where I wear a dress where I don't hate it. Like, I wear modern dresses and I feel gross, and it's like very thin strapped, and I'm like, ugh, ugh, ugh. But like, I wear vintage dresses and I just feel like pretty, and like I could wear it all day, and I just feel majestic. Also, I love the hairstyles, like the 50s curls and all that kind of thing is beautiful, and like the Victorian ringlets and like the majestic buns and things are really beautiful. There's a hairstyle that I am doing right now that is based off a Victorian style bun with braids. Of course, they had more hair and it was more styled beautifully, but it's the best I can do with my short, thin hair. So I'm trying. They also didn't have, you know, blue hair, but, you know, I'm gonna mix some modern and vintage together. I hope to do more vintage videos like this, maybe show off some of the clothes I have. If you guys want to see that, I can do a few videos. This channel will be like true crime and vintage, the best combination. I don't have a lot of vintage clothes as of yet, but I've been looking at a lot of websites to see if I can get some more since I'm stuck at home. Why not change up my wardrobe by buying a ton of vintage clothing? Because I'm that person. I'm really hoping for my birthday I'm trying to get saddle shoes. Anyone who knows them, they're a 50s, 40s type of shoe. They're black and white. Of course, they're not the prettiest, but like, I just want them. I don't know why. I just want it. So hopefully I can do more vintage videos soon. If you guys don't want to see a ton of vintage, also let me know. We can do random stuff like Reddit or all that sort of thing on Mondays, because Thursdays are for true crime only, where I do art and I talk about mystery. I posted one last week that did pretty well, and this week I'll be doing another one, as I will do every Thursday. If you guys have any ideas for true crime that you think I should do, like stories, you can comment on this video or on the true crimes, and then I can look at them. I already have my video planned for this week, but I can definitely do it for the next week or the week after, or whatever you guys want, because I want to bring entertainment to you. So I hope you enjoyed. If you like vintage, there are a ton of vintage YouTubers who are a lot more talented and who have done this a lot longer, who make their own clothes. I'll link a few of my favorites down below if you guys want to check them out. Of course, I'm just starting out. I'm only 18. I don't have a lot of money, and I'm trying. I have a few pieces, and I hope that maybe in the future I can have more. That would just be... I even have a vintage corner in my room with, like, vintagey type stuff. It's called my vintage corner. It's not that vintage, but I'm trying. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and have a very vintage day. That was stupid. Bye!